I'm 70 years old, and what I'm about to say might upset you, not because it's harsh, but because it's honest. No one prepares you for this truth, not your parents, not your teachers, not even life itself. You only understand it when time has already taken most of itself back. So please, listen carefully. For most of my life, I believed I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do. I followed the rules. I woke up early, I showed up every day, I worked hard, I stayed busy, I stayed responsible. People looked at me and said I was doing well, and I believed them. I believed that discipline meant success. That routine meant stability, that staying busy meant staying important. Every morning felt familiar, the same alarm, the same rush, the same plans. I told myself this was life, and that one day, when things slowed down, I would finally enjoy it. I thought life was something you prepared for first and lived later. I didn't realize later is a fragile word. Years passed without asking permission. I didn't notice them leaving because I was always focused on what was next. Next goal, next responsibility, next stage. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't awake either. Then one ordinary day, something shifted. Nothing dramatic happened, no collapse, no loud moment, just a quiet room. A chair, a calm voice telling me something about my health, words that made me suddenly aware of my own breathing. In that moment, my achievements meant nothing. What filled my mind were not the things I did, but the things I postponed, the conversations I kept delaying, the rest I never allowed myself, the people I assumed would always be there. I remember walking out slowly, not because my body felt weak, but because my certainty did. That was the first time I understood something painful. I had been living my life on autopilot. I wasn't choosing my days, I was repeating them. I moved through life efficiently, but not intentionally. I chased goals without asking why. I stayed busy so I wouldn't have to think. Days turned into months, months into years, and I barely noticed. Regret doesn't scream when it arrives. It whispers, it sits beside you at night, when the noise fades, when distractions no longer work. I regret not being more present with people I loved, not because I didn't care, but because I thought there was time. I regret saying after this too often, after work, after retirement, after things calm down. I regret believing life would wait for me. The most painful regrets aren't about failure, they're about absence. Moments you were alive for, but not truly there. Here's something no one likes to hear. Someday never comes. Later is a promise life does not keep. Time doesn't pause when you're busy. It doesn't slow down when you're tired. It doesn't care about your plans. One day you wake up, and the mirror shows someone older than you expected, and you ask yourself quietly, when did this happen? The years didn't disappear. You traded them. For pressure, for routine, for things you thought mattered more. At this age, clarity arrives without effort. You stop chasing approval. You stop collecting things that don't bring peace. You realize possessions don't comfort you at night. Status doesn't sit beside you in silence. Being busy doesn't make you fulfilled. What matters becomes very simple. People, moments, presence, a calm morning, a real conversation, being fully there. Without thinking about what comes next. I wish I understood this earlier. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't lecture him. I wouldn't scare him. I would sit beside him and speak softly. I would tell him to slow down. Not because life is short, but because he's missing it. I would tell him to stop waiting for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. I would tell him to call people while he still can, not later, now. I would tell him rest is not weakness. Joy is not laziness, and life is not a race you win by suffering. I would tell him not to measure his worth by productivity or titles, or how busy he looks. I would tell him to measure life by how alive he feels. I'm 70 years old now. I don't have many illusions left, but I do have honesty. You don't need to change everything overnight. Just don't sleepwalk through your days. Look up more often. Breathe deeply. Be where you are. Time is limited, but it's still yours. So I'll leave you with this question. If nothing changes, if your days keep repeating exactly as they are, will you be proud of how you're living today? If this message stayed with you, leave a comment. Share it with someone you care about. And subscribe if you want more quiet truths like this. Not because you should, but because time is precious, and it deserves to be lived, not just passed.